right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And you know, we do a lot of once in a lifetime tastings here at the Wine Watch. And whenever I get a great vintage of a wine like Chateau Latour, I'm more interested in drinking it than selling it. And I've had this 61 Latour for far too long. That's why we put this tasting on the calendar, and because I couldn't fit it in the budget with the Latour tasting last year along with the 59. These old vintages of wines like Chateau Latour are just getting ridiculously expensive. The 61 we had this evening, $5,000 a bottle. And why do wines like this cost $5,000? Well, Chateau Latour's had a little while to market their wine. They've been around since the 15th century, and in 1855 when Bordeaux was classified, they were owned by the Marquis de Colondas, and he owned Cologne Segura, and he owned Marquis de Segura rather. He owned Mouton, he owned Lafite, and Latour. It doesn't seem fair. You could own all of those great properties. But Latour was considered the top of the top back then. And to me, if you look at the 5 first gross, I think Lafite, Latour, and Mouton, definitely the top 3. The Pauillac wines, the powerhouse appellation of Bordeaux. And Latour, we just did our 1982 Big 8 tasting. Almost unanimously everybody's favorite wine at that tasting. So, you know, we had the 82 and a lot of other great vintages on the table tonight. Which wine will come out and reign supreme? That's why we do these tastings. Hey, I've had 61 and 62 side by side from other first gross. And, you know, if you get a good bottle of 62 and an off bottle of 61, the 62 could come out on top, as it did this evening. The 61, I was a little disappointed for $5,000, man. I'm very disappointed. Luckily, I didn't pay that much for it. But this is a 100-point wine, a great vintage, one that everybody that knows Bordeaux has heard about, the legend of the 61 vintage. And, you know, it still had a bit of that classic Latour pencil lead, graphite, cigar box, leather, but you noticed a little oxidation on the nose. And the fill on the bottle was just slightly into the neck, the same fill the 62 had. And, hey, this wine was still good on the second day. It was not bad, but this is the problem with cork. You know what? You get a cork that's not perfect, you're going to have ullage. Once it goes into the neck, chances are you're going to get a little oxidative quality in the wine. But this wine still got a few vote for first, 2 votes for second. So I think several people may have just been enamored by the fact they were drinking 61 Latour. But still a nice wine, a little bit of a disappointment for me. The 62 was excellent, however. I liked it better than the 61. It had a little bit of those oxidative qualities, but still had some nice fruit to it, even a little bit in the bouquet there. Smoky, tobacco, coffee, kind of smoked meaty notes coming out. Smooth and silky on the tongue. This wine still had a little bit of fruit sneaking in there, and not quite as much oxidative qualities as the 61. Got to vote for first, got to vote for second, and like I said, got my vote for the better wine. Between the old dogs, hey, the 1970, the lowest rated wine on the table, even got a vote for first and a vote for second. And this wine's showing a bit of a green kind of mint and pepper note on the nose, cigar box spice, old leather, a wee bit of red currant berry fruit, not very much lasting there, but soft and silky on the tongue, very elegant, lovely spice, that gravelly mineral note showing through the finish. Definitely not a blockbuster, but never was. And showing very nicely, though. Still a very nice wine. I will drink it with you any night you invite me over to drink 70 Latour. The 82, though, wow, a whopper. Man, what a incredible, stunning array of fruit, red currants, cigar box spice, truffle, smoke, graphite, a little hint of a Band-Aid kind of medicinal note, which would indicate a little bit of Brett, but just a little bit of this, to me, adds complexity in wine. Didn't take away from it at all. And on the tongue, this wine just a monster, an abundance of fruit. The tannins ripen around, array of spice, mineral, lingering for a minute or longer. Wow, this wine was the winner without a question, with 7 votes for first, 3 votes for second place. Killer juice. As a matter of fact, half of the wines got killer on my scorecard, which is a 100-point score. The 89, never kind to the wines of Pauillac. I don't think any of the first gross were rated 90 points or higher in 89. And for some reason, a great vintage. Not great in Pauillac. This wine was a little light on the bouquet. Definitely one of the lighter wines for me on the nose. And a little bit of that cigar box spice, a whiff of red currant berry fruit. Lovely silkiness on the tongue, though. Light, balanced, soft, elegant. Really a nice drinking Latour. And they got 1 vote for first place. Like I said, excellent juice. Not the wine of the night on anybody's scorecard. It was the wine on one person's scorecard. I'm sorry. One vote for first. All right. Almost all the wines got a vote, I'll tell you. Chateau Latour is still Chateau Latour, even in an off vintage. A 90-point Latour is still, I mean, an outstanding bottle. The 1990 is killer, though. This wine's got a stunning array of spice box, mint, fresh plowed earth, truffle, and more. And it needs a day to open up. Still very young. One of my favorite vintages from Bordeaux, this 1990 vintage. Thick and chewy, lots of tannins, an array of that spice and earth, and a seemingly never-ending finish. Just incredible depth and concentration. A Latour for the ages. If you've got this wine in your cellar, you want to hold on to it for a couple of more decades. We only opened up this bottle for scientific purposes. It was a second place this evening with 2 votes for first and 5 votes for second. Killer Juice, as was the 96. Wow, another amazing vintage for Latour. This wine just had a stunning bouquet of cedar, cigar box, spice, graphite, mineral, black pepper, dark currant, cassis, and a little monster on the palate. Wow, this big chewy tannins, a host of that earth and spice from the nose, and a long layered finish. This wine needs some time. Has all the right stuff in proportion. 2 votes for first, 2 votes for second. This wine came in third place, and all the money wines finishing very high. The 99, this was the first of the youngsters to show a bit of that earth and barnyard, starting to give off some secondary aromas. 99, not considered a great vintage, but one that is drinking really nicely right now. It's somewhat a little bit of evolution, but still has some nice currant and black cherry fruit. The tannin's starting to soften up a little bit here, and a little bit of that barnyard cigar box and tobacco spice at the end. Nice freshness and balance, and excellent Latour nonetheless. The 2000, another blockbuster vintage, another killer wine, and this wine, very youthful still, little red and black fruit, cigar box spice, truffle, mint, very complex bouquet. Still a lot of tannins here on the palate. This wine needed a day to open up, and maybe the most tannic on the second day. You know, this is what happens to great vintages. Sometimes they go through a phase where they're not showing very well. These 2000s a bit closed right now. You definitely want to hold on to this. This wine's got everything in proportion, but needs a little time. You really need to be patient with the 2000 first gross. Killer Juice. The 2005 killer as well, and wow, man, this had the nicest nose, and I mean, this wine got a couple of votes for first and a couple of votes for second place, and you know, it really is going through this phase right now where you could, if you like young California Cabernets, you're going to love the 2005 Latour, man. Just an absolutely stunning array of spice, espresso, dark currant, cassis, berry fruit, just massive on the tongue with lots of tannins, but these are ripe tannins, man. You still, that fruit is showing through brilliantly, and lovely thickness, lovely depth in this wine. Still an infant, but like I said, if you like infants, this 2005 Latour, very showy and killer juice as well. Hey, you know you're always going to get extra at a Wine Watch event. Just in case someone was still thirsty, I had some 2001 Lafort de Latour, and made for the first wine in 1966. Had that classic Latour nose, that lead pencil, the graphite, the coffee, the smoked meats, the currants, the cassis, and 2001, a classic year for Bordeaux, meaning a cooler year. And these wines started off drinking nicely, and they've never shut down. They're just going to continue their whole life to drink pretty evenly, and a very lovely balance in these 2001s. An excellent entry level into Chateau Latour. And hey, you know we had Chateau Yquem to finish things off, the 2011 vintage. How do you finish a Latour tasting? It must be Chateau Yquem. And the 11s, outstanding for the sweet wines of Bordeaux. Not great for the other wines, and that's because a lot of times the conditions very different, and what you need to make a great sweet wine and what you need to make a great red wine. It's very rare that you find that you have great red wines and sweet wines in the same vintage. And 11, one of those vintages where the reds weren't great and the sweet wines were, and the Yquem, even though some people say you need to keep it for 20 years. I love the way sauternes taste when they're young. I love the way they taste when they're old. They're very different. And if you want to experience Chateau Yquem, a dizzying array of it, we're doing 10 vintages on Valentine's Day, going back to 1947, and you'll get to try this 2011 that we had at the Latour tasting as well. That's what we had at our first once-in-a-lifetime tasting of 2016. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.